Can you believe this was 9 years ago? 2016 World Cup of Hockey with guys like Carey Price on the screen, Sidney Crosby, Carey Price and Shea Weber. You know, there are so many things that we can take a look at as hockey fans and as Canadian hockey fans in particular. If we search Carey Price, Sidney Crosby, Canada, 2014 Olympics, oh yeah, baby, that is the scoop, that is the deal. Crosby and Price are Canadian legends. But what if I told you that the conversation of them reuniting is apparently not that crazy of an idea? Let's head over onto Pittsburgh Hockey Now and read Dan Kaniewski's piece from last week talking about some potential Penguins trade targets. Yeah, that's right. In the prior video, we had discussed Brian Rust getting sent away from Pittsburgh to Detroit for whatever it could be. Comfer, Cop, some other stuff. But now we're circling back and we're saying, hey, who is it that the Penguins could set their sights on? Let's dive into this piece. It'll be linked in the description. Of course, you can already see from the picture one of the names that Dan Kaniewski writes about as a potential Penguins target is none other than Igor Chinakhov of the Columbus Blue Jackets. But I wanted to skip by that conversation and go all the way down to trade target number 2. Carey Price. Now, I wanted to say before we get into this is not the first time we have discussed Price over to the Penguins. We already made another bigger video going over some teams that were written about as Price destinations. We had spoken about San Jose and who else was in there? I know Pittsburgh was in there. Seattle was in there too. Bunch of other teams, but this is what a beat reporter from the Penguins area goes out there and says, hey, the Pens need a starting goalie, right? Actually, Carey Price is on the LTIR and effectively retired. But the Montreal Canadiens will carry the final year of his $7.5 million salary this season. That's salary, not cap hit. The cap hit's a lot higher than that. On September 1st, he is due a $5 million bonus, reducing his paid salary to $2.5 million, and Montreal would greatly benefit by moving that dead salary off of their cap structure. Colleague Mark Dumont detailed the reasons it behooves Montreal to move Price off the books. It's all about the Canadiens' cap flexibility as they make a run at competing this season. If the going rate to swallow about $3.5 million is a second-round pick, what is $7.5 million worth? Perhaps about the same, if not a little more. And there are only a couple of teams able to handle that sort of offload. The San Jose Sharks and Ducks are both under the cap, but Anaheim's desire to win combined with small market economic forces probably takes them out of the running unless Montreal really pays up. That leaves San Jose and the Penguins. So, yeah, Pittsburgh, they're in a spot where they want to trade away everybody. Carlson, they want him out. Rust, they want him out. Raquel, they want him out. Okay, maybe they don't necessarily want these guys out, but they're like, yeah, no, we're okay to get rid of them. We're kind of selling here. We can open up the roster, get some younger dudes in here. Malkin's going to leave next year too, so we are going through a big change. Kyle Dubas knows how to rebuild and grab as many assets as possible. He did that with Toronto in the Matthews era. But Pittsburgh seems to be going down a similar path. If we head over to puckpedia.com, take a look at their cap structure and their situation here. Pittsburgh has $13 million in cap space right now, and they don't have to re-sign anybody aside from Vasily Ponomariev, who is probably not going to break the bank. Hot take. I don't think he's going to do that. But you think about some of these other dudes, if Raquel gets traded, that's $5 million of space. If Rust gets traded, that's $5 million of space. If Carlson gets traded, that's $10 million in space. What more could the Pittsburgh Penguins use other than a guy like Carey Price, whose 8-digit salary on the cap hit, not salary, his cap hit, that's what it is, excuse me, Carey Price and his behemoth of a deal will help the Penguins stay afloat in being cap compliant. And at $10.5 million for one more year, it actually does work out well. If you were to say, okay, let's do Carey Price for Karlsson, 1 for 1, the salary would work. You wouldn't really prefer to do that if you were Montreal, because Karlsson in a Habs uniform wouldn't really... I just don't know, man. It just doesn't feel like it would work because there are too many right-handed guys already. There are too many defensemen. We had the same conversation earlier in today's show about Simon Nemec. The Habs don't really need another right-handed D-man. They just traded 4-1 in Dobson. They just traded one away in Mayu. So maybe not Karlsson. And good golly gee, we are not going to go out there and even insinuate the idea of Sidney Crosby for Carey Price. That would not feel nice at all in Pittsburgh's favor. The Habs would have to add so much to get that to go through. Hey, it's not enough just to get Crosby from y'all. We got to send you our behemoth extra goalie 10.5 AAV contract on top of that. They'd have to pay maybe a double what exactly it would be they'd have to pay for Crosby by himself. But anyways, there doesn't seem to be an avenue for that. I like the idea as well of having Crosby and Price reunited on a similar roster for the first time in 9 years since the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. Had they played in any other tournaments? I don't know. I mean, Sidney Crosby didn't really go to the Worlds all too much, and Carey Price stopped playing quite a bit earlier, so I'm not really too sure. But this article on Pittsburgh Hockey Now does go out there and continue the conversation on Crosby. It goes out here at the bottom saying that Crosby can only say so many times and so many ways that he's not leaving the Penguins. Sure, there might come a moment over the next 2 seasons when things get so bad that even Crosby has to tap out. It's possible, maybe. But no, Sid signed up for this. He knew the score, and GM Kyle Dubas has made a point to be transparent with Crosby about the process. Despite some assertions to the contrary, we do know what Crosby is thinking. He has asserted numerous times he is here for the long haul. After the talk mushroomed back in January, a line of reporters were waiting after a practice in San Jose to ask Crosby the question again. A Penguins team source pulled a couple of the reporters aside, including Pittsburgh Hockey Now, to say no, Crosby isn't thinking it, isn't considering it, he's getting a little annoyed by it, so just save your breath. He has been asked this question so many times that the notoriously polite superstar began to roll his eyes at successive attempts. This latest round of trade talk began with one tweet from a former player turned media person. It has not emanated from Crosby or his people. Granted, Marc-Andre Fleury and Max Talbot saying that they hoped he would chase a cup one more time, even if it meant leaving, didn't help the matter, but they were speaking personally, and they also admitted Crosby's never leaving. The team has quelled the talk numerous times, and I was the brave fellow who apologetically asked Dubas one more time after the draft if he could respond to recent trade talk, and the answer was a shrug and status quo. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here in regards to Penguins beat reporters shutting down Sidney Crosby trade talk, but as Chris Johnston had been talking about on SDPN as well, how can you shut it down? It's the elephant in the room. Everybody is talking about Sidney Crosby's next destination because the Penguins stink and they're going to go through this rebuild. And Crosby is still amazing. So I'm not going to go out there and say that he's going to get traded for Price or whatever, but I did find it interesting that we could go over the idea of a Carey Price to Pittsburgh trade and discuss him reuniting with Sid one more time. I mean, Carey doesn't even need to play. We know he won't, but just showing up, being in the crowd with his cowboy hat and, I don't know, just hanging out around the team, chilling with Crosby, there's something so poetic about that. And I think most 2010s kids like me, born in 2000 but got into hockey in the 2010s, we would be kind of fanboying out if we had seen stuff like that going on in this 2025, 2026 season. So with that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about a Carey Price trade over to Pittsburgh? And what are your thoughts on the Sidney Crosby trade talk? Let me know in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.